Hi guys, and welcome back to Sunday Sermon with Ola. I always lose track of which number episode I'm on. As soon as I start the recording, I'm like, oh, what number am I on again? And then obviously I'll figure it out when I'm doing the edit. But it's strange, I can never remember the number. I don't know. There's a weird mental block there or something. Either way, it's a pleasure to be back. Um, I've left this one late, so it's not usually it's not running the same sort of clockwork as usual, but it's cool. It's cool. It's enough time, and I've got a topic that I want to talk to you guys about. You may have figured it out from the title or not. But before we get onto that, as always, man, thank you to everyone who joins in the Instagram live. Everyone. Even if on the last Instagram live I had to rear so the ugly head of roast Ola. I'm not proud of who I became when goaded into clapping back, but we're gonna have to keep it moving, keep it positive. Look, yeah, it's not even something to be proud of, but like I've always had this ability to say cutting things, and you try to become a better person and do better. You try not to employ that all the time, Sometimes just take a few things on the chin. But the problem is, people start treating you like, hey, you ain't really got nothing to say back. So then it's like, you start looking back at Jesus like, Jesus, let me clap back just this one time. Let the streets know I still got it in me. And it's not good. That's not how it should be. So, as I said on my Instagram stories, done with that. From now on, if you want to take shots at me, you want to say I'm fat, we'll work it out, blah, blah, blah. That's fine. It's okay. It's all good. As always, shout out to the Patreon supporters. You guys are the real MVPs. Shout out to those of you considering joining. Join the Patreon. Right now I've been doing it on the basis of if you love my work and you feel like it's worth something. But I'm going to start making sure I provide some extra value for the people that are on the Patreon as well. I've got a few things coming out. I'm thinking about dropping one of my old specials and sending it to all the patrons, or at least some of the patrons, the ones on that tier. And, figuring out ways to keep adding value for you guys. So, that's that. That's the thank yous out the way. Let's get into this topic. Okay. So, this topic, it starts way back. I can't remember exactly when, but at some point I do these things on my Instagram stories from time to time. So I had this whole topic about how women don't have game. And, obviously it's like most of my stuff. It's contentious, but like, I mean well, like I'm not really here to like trash the sisters. I'm just somebody who is, I don't know how to put it, playful. I'm playful, and also I know that a lot of guys don't like. It's like when it comes to talking about women as a guy, you either fall into one of two categories. You either outwardly just hate women and you say this stuff, or you don't hate women, so you don't feel like you can say anything critical. So you fall into the other extreme, in which everything women do is amazing. And I just don't agree with either one of them. I think they're both wild positions to take in life. I think, like all human beings, there are strengths, there are weaknesses. So when I say these things, remember this from that angle. As much as you want to paint this picture on the lives that Ola's a misogynist, these are all stories you tell yourself because you've never heard somebody actually just investigate a little bit deeper. All right, now that's out the way. Um, I would say ladies don't have game. Now, the reason for this, you can speculate. Mostly it's to do with the fact of what's necessary. Most women aren't required to have any kind of game. They're just required to be pretty. Just be beautiful. Just be even, like, appear available usually is enough. No, you don't have to appear available. The guys will approach women that are clearly taken. Literally, women don't have to do much, right? I'm not saying they should have to do more. I'm just saying that tends to be the way it rolls, right? So women don't have to develop game. A lot of guys, good looking guys, don't always have to develop game. Rich guys don't always have to develop game. Um, so I put this out there anyway. And obviously we got into it, it's the usual banter, it's the back and forths. But this week, one of the sisters, um, who is a follower, I hope she's a listener, um, she came back to me to say, nah, you were right, Ola. We ain't got no game. Sisters have got zero game. And then she sent me this episode of a podcast called How Married Are You? Um, Now, I'm aware of these guys. I don't actually listen or follow them regularly, but I'm aware of them. I've consumed some of their content from time to time. And they're dope, right? So it's a married couple and they do this podcast. And they take some questions. And one of them is from a woman talking about shooting her shot with a guy. And they get into it, and the husband has the exact same position as me. He has the same viewpoint as me, which is that a lot of girls don't have game. So even on live on the podcast, the, him and his wife, they do a simulation, like a mock situation, and get her to try and mac on him. And when I tell you, it was painful. It was like, sis, like they're a beautiful couple. They're married. They've worked through things. Their love is clearly a matured love. This is not like puppy love stuff. So I'm not diminishing their marriage in any way. That's a marriage. But yo, her ability to mac on him was weak. It was weak. Oh, it was painful. Oh, it was painful. She started off with this line about Naomi Osaka. She couldn't remember the name, but she knows that he likes tennis. So she was trying to go down that angle, and she just wasn't landing it. Like, it wasn't going anywhere. Now, I will stand here and say right now, I don't particularly have game myself. I don't have game in like a let me get you from A to B as soon as possible kind of guy. Right? I'm not that guy who meets somebody, talks to them, and they're in bed the same night. Partly because I wasn't trying to, have one night stands like that, but also just because that's not really my style. I've never like walked up to a girl on the street or on the bus and taken her number and stuff. So I've never really been that guy, so I kind of understand it. But I know that having a way to speak to women has been an invaluable skill to develop um, in a lot of what men go through in terms of establishing their self esteem, establishing their sense of self. One of those ways is talking to women, especially if you're going to try and marry one day and going to try and date one. You're going to need to figure out how to speak to women, how to put yourself across well, how to understand them, how to entertain them, because they often seek to be entertained. So she was terrible. And the sister who sent this to me was like, I that what came back to us like, yeah, that scenario was bad. Oh my goodness, it was painful. But we were laughing about it, and then she was like, so what do I do? Because my game is terrible. And I said to her, all right, cool. I'm gonna ask my wife. So I now asked my wife. We were at breakfast, and I said, hey, do you think you got game? She's like, I can put it on. I said, all right, then, cool, Mac on me. Yo, when I say I was genuinely impressed by my wife's ability to back on me, I was like, okay, all right, okay. The way she did it, oh, it was smooth, man. Oh, it was smooth. She was like, she just got into a discussion about what do I do for a living, and I said I'm a comedian. She was like, oh my goodness, you're a comedian. I was like, yeah, it's not a big deal. She's like, oh, I'm sure you say that to all the girls. I'm like, which girls? She was like, good looking guy like yourself. You've got to be telling all the girls how I'm a by this point, I was like, how has she got me smiling and defending myself and whatnot? This girl's got me too, like, softened up. Like, okay, I just had to stop right there. Like, okay, no. All right, you got skills. Because she got me to the point where I was grinning tea and like, you get into that point where you feel a bit bashful. So I was like, okay, you got game like that, yeah? Okay, what are you going to tell this sister? And funny enough, what she told the sister was kind of the same advice that I was giving the sister. So So if you happen to be a sister right now and you're like, look, I want to have a bit more game when I'm talking to guys. Um, the 2 points I mentioned was that one, you, well, the main thing really in talking to a guy is to seem like you actually are interested in him as a human being. It sounds crazy, but a lot of women walk into conversations expecting to be entertained by the guy. If you go in there like I expect him to be funny, charming, and witty, what's the expectation on you? Do you know how many girls are like, oh, his conversation was dead? Meanwhile, they have had nothing to contribute to this conversation. Now, I luckily have a way with words. As a comedian, just in general, you know, I can be quite flowery with my vocabulary. I can be quite witty or be quite entertaining in terms of having jokes and anecdotes and so on. And life stories, all these kind of things. I've had conversations with women where they've walked away from that going, that was a great conversation. And I was thinking in my head, like, might have been great for you, but for me, that was like pulling teeth. On the other hand, yo, I say women don't have game. I have to qualify that. Most women that I've met haven't had game. But the few that have had game, oh man, yo, I've met a couple of girls in this lifetime who could talk me out of my boxes. And yo, I mean, I might tell you a few stories about times, ways I've been moved to, but essentially, like speaking to my, or telling this sister that, like, yo, first things first, like, just at least show an interest. The way my wife was like, oh, you're a comedian. I felt like, oh, wait a minute, comedy special? Oh, it's special, special. Like, I know people tend to be fairly interested when I tell them I'm a comedian. But the way she said it back, I was like, oh, she's actually really interested. That's what started to soften me up, if you see what I'm saying. So yeah, it was definitely an eye opener to see it in action, and also the fact that I'd said it to the sister as well. That like, yeah, when you're talking to a guy, stop thinking about how this guy can entertain you. Stop thinking about how he can find a way to make you laugh. How about you just take an interest in him as a human being, his life story, what he's going through, where his world is. And that's a tip for marriage as well. Men really want their wives to come into their world. Not come into their world and change it, criticize it, dominate it, or whatever. But if you take an interest in something your guy is passionate about, oh my goodness. Yo, every once in a while, my wife will drop some comment about a comedian. I'll be like, oh, okay. Are you paying attention? Attention. Okay. She'd be like, ain't that the comedian that did the joke about so and so, and in the end he ended up doing blah blah blah. I'm like, okay, yeah, I like that. I like that. She doesn't know a lot about everything I like. There's lots of stuff where she just leaves it out. But when she does, like, take an interest in my world, oh, it's fantastic. Oh man, it's like you get validated. You get, oh, cool, okay. I got something to add to this world. So yeah, I think I'm not even gonna make it about 2 points or 3 points. The main point I would like to say is that if you make a guy seem like what he has to say is actually interesting, if you make anyone feel that way, usually you get a good conversation out of them. But I'm putting it this way around because, for a sister asking about how to speak to guys or how to have game when you're talking to guys, I just feel like it's something that's underemphasized for women because there's usually um no reason for women to really take an interest in what a guy's about. There's no impetus for it because it's usually the guy having to try and impress the woman or trying to like find something interesting to say so he can take her from uninterested or barely interested or pretending she's not interested to being visibly interested. Cool. So just for fun, um, I will no. Before I tell you guys any stories about how I've been moved to, I will say this as well. I said to the sister, You have to know the difference between letting a guy know that you're interested and initiating. Some guys may like it, and I'm not going to speak on all guys' behalf here. Guys, if you like women to initiate, more power to you, my brother. But for me and a lot of guys I've spoken to, guys, we don't want a woman to initiate. We want her to, if she's gonna come across, if she wants to like get off the bench and get in the game, all you want to do is let it be known that you are interested, and that if he were to initiate, it would be well received. That's all. There's too many risks in this world today about trying to shoot your shot with the wrong person. You shoot your shot, and if it comes across too forceful, too aggressive, too sleazy, at the wrong place, at the wrong time, you can very easily go from I had a legitimate interest in this woman to this was sexual harassment in the workplace. He didn't respect the fact that I was in a professional setting. You know, he was too pestersome, if that's a word. You know, he should once I didn't show interest in my face, he should have known to walk away. Um, you know, he put pressure on me. Like, there's too much room for like this to go wrong. So, and this thing about women just like shooting their shot by sending telepathic messages or by going into their notes and writing down I like this guy and hoping that somehow he'll get the message. That needs to stop. And this is where the game part comes in. It's a game because what you're dealing with is a very intangible back and forth. It takes two to tango, but you have to know the dance in order to do it well. So the difference is letting a guy know that you find him interesting is very different from we should go out sometime or I'd like to take you to dinner or whatever it is. Now, I'm not saying a guy doesn't appreciate being taken to dinner, and there can be definitely you can still get a decent relationship out of it. But what I'm saying is it sets off the dance on the wrong foot because what you're doing is you're starting off the dance as the leader and he's following. And then one day you're going to be like, oh, he doesn't really take any initiative. I'm always the one pushing on things. Blah, blah. Look, yeah. If you know deep down you want a guy who's going to plan nice dates for you, think about what to do for you, think about thoughtful gifts for you, you know, think about ways uh, to romance you or whatever, or even propose to you one day. You want a guy who knows what he wants and is willing to step up and go for it. You do not inspire that or find that by going out and doing it yourself. You may get some of the results you're looking for, but you're not going to get that particular result. So that's why I say, you know, for a lot of guys, it's like sometimes even when a girl's too forward, you're a bit like, yo, this is feels a bit off. Like, what's going on here? Because we're really just not used to it, one. But two, also, it really throws you off your whole perception of the part that you play in this. It's like if two people are trying to tango and both of them are trying to lead, bit by bit, it's like you're going to step on each other's toes. Oh, that's a good analogy. Okay, I'm going to pat myself on the back on the YouTube for that one. If two of you try to tango and you both try to lead, someone's going to step on the other's toes. So essentially what you want to do is you want to let them know, look, I'd be open to dancing or to stepping out with you or whatever. And that distinction is very important. But I have had a couple of times where you know a woman moved to me and I say, you know, some of them it's varying degrees of success. But I would say that the most interesting ones were the ones where like it was, for me anyway, where it was more intellectual. There was ones where it was just bold. One time on a bus, as I was getting off the bus, a lady handed me a business card. It was someone else's business card, but she crossed out their details, wrote her number on it. That one, I'm like, that's bold. But I was like, I thought I was flattered, obviously. There was one where I was at a gig, and I used to have these cards that I give out with my social media stuff on there, the name of my ebook, so you can go buy it afterwards. You know, all the stuff that you'd want a supporter to have, right? All that info. So I printed out. It was like a business card, but it was more like for like a comedian, basically. Go buy my DVD at blah blah blah. Go buy my ebook from here. Follow me on this on Twitter. Follow me on that. Anyway, I had these little cards. And I remember this specifically because it was like a week before. It was in the run up to my wedding. It was in Leicester. I handed a woman this card as I was giving it out to all the supporters. And then she handed it back to me 2 minutes later with her number written on it. And yo, I was genuinely offended. I was like, so what, you're not gonna go buy my ebook? You're not gonna go follow me on Instagram? I spent money printing these things, you know. I know I'm supposed to have been flattered, and maybe deep down somewhere I was, but I was literally like, yo, I'm trying to get my social media following up right now. You say you like the jokes, go follow, man. I wasn't looking for your number. And I think partly because I was about to get married as well, I just really was not looking for any attention. But anyway, I just remember that one just being a bit like, yo, I was just like, actually, just hold on to the card. Follow me, please. Um, what else? Yo, I've had times where sisters will just have like a dope conversation with you. And, you know, maybe later on, you now figure out that, okay, something happened or like she was interested or whatever. And you might have had you might have had an inkling, but it wasn't clear. And that's happened a couple of times. And now those ones are just kind of fun because you can brush them off. I don't know if it was fun for her. Maybe she was hoping for something more, but you can brush it off because it's like it didn't really come together. It's fine, but it was interested, and it was flattering that she was interested in me. There was one, I've told this story before, but bruh, there was one where I was just like, I'm disappointed to this day. To this day, when I look back, first of all, I'm really upset with myself for how easily I got moved to like this. But yeah, I was doing a show. This is like uni times. I started comedy while I was at uni. So when I was at uni, I used to start off doing a lot of these black shows, ACS shows, all that kind of stuff. So I was hosting some uni's ACS show. Girl comes to me in the interval and goes, "Can I take your number? I want to do a fundraiser for Sickle Cell and I'd love to book you." I gave sis my number. Till today, that show never happened. That show never happened. This is that. Next thing you know, we're hanging out from time to time. She's hitting me up. She got my number. You know what I'm saying? It's banter, blah, 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 blah. And yo, after a couple of months of talking and so on, she's like, she comes clean about the fact that she has a dude and they're on a break. They've broken up, but she's pretty sure they're gonna get together in a couple months time. Like they know their cycle, blah blah blah. But she's like, she wants to just have her fun because she knows that once she goes back with him, like they're pretty much settled. They're gonna get married, blah blah blah. I was like, yo, the game is cold, but it's got nothing to do with me. So play on, player. The maddest thing was, at one point, she mentions that my guy has sickle cell. Now, you might not have put it all together yet, but I did it because my sister has sickle cell. And I was like, yo, sickle cell is close to my heart. Like, someone calls me to come and do a fundraiser for sickle cell at that time. I'm like, yo, I'm there, right? Whatever we can do. But then I figured out that sis really used her dude's sickle cell to draw my number. Ah, yo, that was the day I was like, nah, man. I fear who no fear woman. If you're not scared of women, I'm scared of you. How how do you have the temerity? She was right. She got back with him. They got married. I've seen sis with her husband, but she was really out here living her best life, trying to have her fun in between. And she used the sickle cell. You don't use. Sis used his sickle cell to draw another guy. Anyway, whew. There have been other situations where girls have moved to me in some way or the other. But I tell you what, my whole strategy in this whole thing, like I'm a married man now, so there's no like I'm not giving away any secrets to the game or whatever it is. This is all this information belongs to the streets now. I just never was that guy that would move to you, and I think it's just because I guess my aims were different, and also it was very artificial for me, and I'm just like real connections. So for me, what would often happen is I would socially get around a girl. Like we become like either through friendship groups or we're hanging out or whatever it is. And we would have conversations. And if it progresses that far, it progresses that far. And there's some people who had conversations that didn't go anywhere, and that's cool too. But for me, my version of game was just more like let's genuinely get to know each other, see if we like each other. So it's never really been that crazy in terms of like, oh, I'm gonna go ask this girl out cold and then see if she likes me or whatever. I've never really done that. And to be honest, I think it's pretty cool to just like. I know a lot of people are worried about getting stuck in the friend zone, but I'm like, yo, if you guys are supposed to be together, you'll figure it out. I was friends with my wife for like 7 years before we ever got together romantically. I don't think the friend zone thing really exists in a way that like, yo, if you guys are great together and the fact that you've been friends first is gonna be the reason you don't make it. No. There may be some weird transitions. You might be used to telling each other stories you speak to as friends, and now you're boyfriend and girlfriend, all them stories come back to you like, oh man. When your friend was telling you about how she had a threesome with two dudes, and now you're married to her, you're like, I still remember that. Yeesh. You never know, like whatever it is. Maybe she used to fart around you when you were friends, and now you're like, oh, can you please, like, I still want to find you attractive. Either way, what I'm saying is that's my whole approach to things. I don't know, how are you guys doing it these days, man? I'm genuinely interested in how people meet these days. I'm always so fascinated by people that like going cold sales, turn a situation around. I don't know this person. I'm gonna go talk to them and somehow walk away from it, and we're now dating, or I'm taking them out on a date. I'm just like, whoa. Join me on the live, man. Jump on the live tonight, 8 p.m. We're talking about this. Talking about game. We're talking specifically about women moving to men. And I just want to say to the sisters, look, if you're saying, but what if he says no, or what if I get rejected? Sis, welcome to the big leagues, man. You can't ask for big boy pants and you ain't got the waist for it. You got to start holding some L's in these rejections as well. Guys have been holding it for way too long. And guys, on the whole, are very respectful when it comes to rejections. They might ghost you or whatever it is, but they still care about your feelings. No guy has ever gone to a woman, put his hand in her face and told her, get away from me, you scrub. I'm not. No, girls don't get that. Watching a girl get rejected is painful, though. I will say that. But it's not the worst it could be. Trust me. I've seen a sister get treated like a travel lodge shower curtain. Just like, ooh, ah. It's painful to watch, but she'll be alright. Anyway, man, see you guys on the live. Join the Patreon. Hit me up on Instagram. Let's go tonight, 8 p.m. Stay blessed.